Hi, I'm Jason Mundy of On Point Business Advisors. I'm an executive and business coach, and today I'm going to be talking about something incredibly important, and that is communication. Communication is fundamental to everything that we do every day, whether it's in our professional lives, communicating to our businesses or to our organization, or communicating with family and friends. Communication is so important to how we connect and relate to others. And the good news is that you can become a master communicator. Today, I'm going to share with you a very useful and important tool that I use with my clients, and that is DISC. You might have heard of DISC. DISC is a communication behavioral assessment tool that measures how you communicate, identifies where your areas of strengths are, as well as opportunities for improvement. But it also allows you to recognize the communication styles of others and to be able to adapt to that. So let's go ahead and get started. To drive home the importance of communication, here are a couple of really interesting quotes. So the great Lee Iacocca, who brought us the Ford Mustang and later turned around the Chrysler Corporation, said simply, communication is everything. Peter Drucker, the renowned executive and business coach, business author, and business school teacher, said the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. And we'll get into that more later. George Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright, political activist, as well as critic, said the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it is taking place. How many times have we spoken to somebody, gave a presentation, spoke and negotiated with a client, and we felt we were on the same page, we thought they heard the message, we thought we were aligned, all to find out later on that they heard something completely different, and we're in two completely different directions. So communication is absolutely critical. This is a really important statistic that I want to drive home with everybody. If you're communicating the same with everybody, you could be losing up to 75% of your opportunities. Think about that. 3/4 of the opportunities that you're engaged in, whether you're selling a product, if you're in sales or marketing, whether you're trying to sell your ideas or you're trying to get across an important point, you could be losing up to 75% of that if you're trying to do the same thing with everybody in the way that you're communicating to them, right? I find that to be absolutely staggering. And you can absolutely improve that by using DISC to help you do it. There are 3 pillars of communication. I find this also to be incredibly interesting and fascinating. So we think about communication in the words that we say, what comes out of our mouth. Okay, that only accounts for 7% of what is being received, comprehended, and understood by others. Okay, think about that, 7%. 38% is how you say it. Okay, that's in our pitch, that's in our pace, that's the volume, the emotion, the level of detail that we share. It's really the visual and auditory aspect of how we communicate. It's not the actual words. And then 55% is nonverbal. That's our body language. That's our eye contact. That's our posture, the gestures we make, our facial expressions. Okay. 93% of communication has nothing to do with the words that we're saying. It's how we say it, and it's how we present ourselves. We talk about listening with your eyes. Okay. So it's about observing, you observing the other person that you're communicating to or your audience and how they're observing you and what they're taking in. Here's another interesting fact, 7 seconds. Okay, think about that. Think about how fast 7 seconds is. It's probably how long I've been talking on this slide. The first time you walk into a room or you meet somebody, your brain is comprehending thousands, if not millions of points of information. They're looking at the clothes that you're wearing, your body gestures, the color of your hair, okay, the color of your skin, the tone of your voice. Do you have an accent? Do you have a dialect? And they're making judgments about you. And then once that happens, it's very hard to overcome those. So that really just drives home the point of how important the visual aspect of your communication style is, okay, and how you're presenting yourself and how you're showing up. With this, we're going to talk about 4 communication styles, okay? 4 communication behavioral styles. And so why do we talk about those styles? If we understand how we behave when we communicate, That is going to identify the areas of strengths that we have as a communicator, but also some of the challenges that we might have based on our style. By understanding those four different styles, we're going to be able to recognize the styles of others. That's the observable language that I just talked about. Okay. And why that's important, we'll get into it in a moment, is that if you can recognize the style of others, you can adapt your style to them. It's not about being fake or unauthentic. It's about meeting that other person or meeting your audience where they are so that you can connect and you can relate to them better. Okay. It's all about adapting, and that's going to allow you to get better results when you're communicating. DISC is often called the universal language. Okay. It's the observable behavior. It's how we act. It's our way of doing things. It's a neutral language. DISC has been around for over 45 years. It's been used globally. It's universal across the globe. Yes, there are some slight nuances and differences based on culture, but for the most part, it is absolutely the same regardless of where you are on the planet. And it's the silent language. Again, it's the observable language. So what is DISC? Again, it's the observable language. It's how we present, how we show up. It's about our emotions. It's the tone of voice that we use. It's our body language, and it's the pace at which we communicate. And what DISC isn't, it's not an intelligence test. It's not about our values. It's not about our skills or education. It's not about what training or experience we have. And it is certainly not a personality test. So where does a universal language help you? Where can DISC help you? Well, it improves our effectiveness in how we communicate, obviously. If you're in management or leadership, you're leading teams, it's going to help you be a more effective leader. If you can communicate better to your team, to your colleagues, and to those above you, senior management, you're going to be that much more effective. And if you're in sales, if you work for yourself or you're a sales leader or a marketing leader, if you can communicate better, you're going to be more effective at it. If you can relate to and connect to others more effectively, you're going to be a better negotiator. And this can actually be used as a recruitment tool. I'm not a big fan of using assessments solely for hiring, but it can be used as a great tool to identify a small pool of your final candidates. So if there are key roles in your organization, especially those that are customer facing and that have to engage with people on a regular basis, if you do team assessments and you can identify some of the key attributes and key behavioral communication styles of your top performers, then you can use that as a tool to identify someone who might be a great fit for your organization or for that role. So what does DISC mean? So DISC is an acronym, right? It's D, I, S, and C. And there are four behavioral styles. The first one is dominance. Okay, that's the D, dominance. That's how you respond to problems and challenges. People who are high Ds tend to be those who like to kind of run right head on into a problem. They like to solve it. They tend to be much more direct. They may come across as more aggressive. People who are high Is, those are the influencers. So those are the people. Those are the people who thrive in social situations. They often tend to be the life of the party. Okay, it's about how you influence people in context to see your point of view. The S stands for steadiness, and that's how you respond to change in terms of pace and consistency. People who are high S's are the people who are always calm. They're the rock in the storm. Okay, those are the people that we flock to when there's chaos, and they make us feel better. They're unwavering. They tend to make us feel like everything is going to be okay. And then C is for compliance. That's how you respond to procedures and constraints. So these are the people who like process. These are the people who like rules. They like to follow those rules, and they don't like it when anyone or anything breaks those rules or those constraints. People who are high Cs tend to be those who go into law or police officers. Everybody exhibits one or more of a dominant aspect or dominant behavioral style. So let me show you what that looks like. In a typical DISC report, you're going to be plotted, if you're taking a DISC assessment, you'll be plotted out across the four different styles, D, I, S, and C. So you're either going to be high or you're going to be low. That midline, we often call that the energy line. So you're either going to be above the energy line or below the energy line. There's no wrong or right answer. There's no good or bad. It's just simply who you are and what is your natural behavioral style. Most people are going to be at least one dominant style and probably a secondary style that they're also dominant in. And again, they'll either be high on that scale or low on that scale. There's something that I'm not going to get into much detail today is there's your natural style and your adaptive style. Your natural style is how you show up and how you behave from a communication standpoint when you're in your natural environment, when you feel no stress or you feel no pressure. Your adaptive style is where you might be adapting to the environment you're in. And this is very important. When I work with my clients, if I see a major gap between their natural and adaptive style, that's an indication that they might be trying to be somebody who they're not. And the more that there's a difference between your natural and adaptive style, the more stress and strain you might be feeling. So somebody might be in a work environment that they're not particularly well suited for. So they might be very unhappy because they feel that they need to be someone else in the workplace. So here's some more interesting statistics. Okay, the majority of people across the globe tend to be influencers or steady relators, high I's and high S's. Okay, that's about 70% of the global population. Okay, the outliers tend to be the high D's and the high C's. But the interesting thing is the high D's and C's, those are the ones they're really easy to pick out. You're going to know right away who's a high D. We've all met that person who's really aggressive, who's in your face, wants to get right down to the bottom line, makes quick decisions. The I's and S's are much harder to pick out. They can be challenging to identify. But the good news is if you learn a little bit about this, you can become very proficient at it. So when I'm conducting a debrief on a DISC assessment, or I'm doing a team debrief, I will go through all the different styles in great detail. So I'm only going to show you D today. I tend to be a high D myself. Key characteristics, those who are high in dominance, they tend to be more direct and blunt, as I mentioned. They want to get to the bottom line. They tend to be more decisive. They can become impatient, right? Once they know the matter at hand and they have enough facts, they want to make a decision. They want to move on. They can be perceived as having a high ego. Identifiers of them, they tend to be fast-paced. They might lean towards you when they speak. They tend to be the risk takers in life. They tend to come across as more confident and they'll make direct eye contact with you. There are do's and don'ts. Okay, so for each style across DISC, there are do's and don'ts. And this is how you employ DISC to be able to communicate to others and be able to relate to them more effectively. So with high D's, you want to be direct, you want to be brief, and you want to stick to business. You want to touch on the high points. You want to ensure they win. And what that means is you don't want to capitulate to them. You don't want to just let them win and not get what you want out of it. But you want it to be a win-win situation. You don't want them to feel like you got something over on them. You want them to feel that they won and this was a good mutual outcome for both parties. You also want to identify opportunities and challenges up front. You don't want those to come back up later on. There are some don'ts with D's as well. So they're not touchy-feely people. These are not the folks who are going to run up to you in a room and give you a big hug when you see them. Those are the high I's and sometimes the S's. You don't want to encroach on their space. They like their personal space. You don't want to be overly emotional when you're communicating with them, and you certainly don't want to dominate the conversation. When I'm running a DISC workshop with a team, we do some fun exercises where we go through all of this, and then we try to identify who everybody is in the room. We also look at some case studies and personas, and then we try to identify what style that person is. Are they a high I? Are they a high C, D, or S? It's really fun. And with a little bit of practice, you can become extremely proficient at doing this. So, final thoughts. There's something called the golden rule of life, right? We've all heard that, and that is treat others as they wish to be treated themselves. There's something also called the platinum rule of communication. And the platinum rule of communication simply is to communicate to others the way that they want to be communicated to. So you can get there faster. You can get to an end result and the outcome that you want much more effectively and faster if you're able to identify that other person's communication style and you adapt your style to them. And again, it is not about being fake or unauthentic. It's about meeting them where they are and communicating to that other party in the way that they wish to be communicated to. And again, I'll drive home this point again. If you're communicating to everybody the same way, you could be losing up to 75% of your opportunities. So it's worthwhile to understand this and to use it as a tool and to be able to adapt your style to others so that you can win more opportunities and you can be that much more successful. So if you want more information about this, or you're interested in taking an assessment for yourself or for your team, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. My contact info is here on the screen. It's jason@onpointadvisors.com. You can call me or text me at my number 401-714-1300. Check out my website, onpoint-advisors.com. And here's my Calendly link, or you can follow me on LinkedIn. I also have a monthly newsletter called the Point Success Guide. You can sign up for that and you can get useful information that will help you to be more effective in running your business or being a more effective leader. So thank you for joining me today. Remember, get on point, unlock your potential, and transform your business and your life.